Fantastic. That was the fastest lap. Excellent lap. We're really pleased.
We're all ready for tomorrow's race, but before we begin, let's have a quick look at those who will be fronting the grid. Hamilton, Vettel and Red. With qualifying complete, all that remains is the main event. We'll be live and uninterrupted for the Grand Prix tomorrow, so make sure you join us then. On the calendar. And it's an absolute pleasure to be joined once again by Anthony Davidson. Now, can I talk to you about Sebastian Vettel? There's a new gearbox in the back of that car, which means a grid penalty, and hopefully some excitement as they make their way through the field.
Well, at the end of the day, it's always better to take some pain now than parking it up halfway through the Grand Prix. Let's just hope they can put that new gearbox to good use and get the results they're looking for.
Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's race. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position and Red completes the front row. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Leclerc, Russell, Valtteri Bottas and Faber. Vettel, they've taken a grid penalty. Verstappen, Perez and Devon Butler. Norris, Albon, Daniel Ricciardo and Kvyat. Magnussen, Raikkonen, Robert Kubica and Lance Stroll. Sainz and Pierre Gasly picks up the final grid slot today. And with preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track.
Okay, this is the team's home race. We're all relying on you to impress today. You're in 8th place. Perez is ahead of you. The gap is less than a second. They're on fresh softs. Verstappen behind. Less than a second separate you. They're on fresh softs. The gap to the leader is 4.9 seconds. 13 laps until your pit window is open. You have 25 laps to go. fine. Carlos is in for his stop. Complete, go now. Okay, clear. We're leading our teammate by 1.6 seconds. Shifting up the gears a little sooner. This should help us save some fuel. Nice work, that brings you up a place. The track is clear. Green flag. Speeding up again, so I expect they've fixed whatever the problem was. This is your final lap of the race. That's a disappointing result for sure, but we'll try to bounce back at the next one.
Ferrari have really pulled it out of the bag today. It's a great win. Anthony Davidson, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
Well, this was a real team victory. They put together a solid strategy today that appeared well suited to the conditions out on track. The driver did everything that was expected of them in the moment to really execute the team's plan to perfection, a shining example of how F1 really is a team sport.
Here come our winners now. A thrilling race and a tremendous effort by Ferrari. Their history is well known, so it's no surprise to fans the world over to see them come out on top once again. So let's review the updated driver standings. It's a great result for Lewis Hamilton, who moves further ahead at the top of the table. After an incredible day of racing, who was your driver of the day, Ant?
I'll probably go for Pierre Gasly. The team did a good job with the strategy to put him in amongst the pack, but it's the driver's job to capitalise on those opportunities, and he did so with a lot of skill.
It's time to check out the constructors' standings. Mercedes continue to extend their lead. Meanwhile, Ferrari have improved their position. A strong weekend from them as they fight their way towards the top. Well, Ant, an end to another fantastic weekend of racing. Thanks to everyone who joined us, and we'll see you for the next one.
There's only one lap of fuel remaining.
With the Grand Prix nearly upon us, Anthony Davidson is by my side once again to offer his perspective. Let's start with Alfa Romeo. What do you make of their performance so far this season?
Well, the atmosphere within that team seems very positive at the moment. Everyone seems like they're in great spirits and having a lot of fun doing what they do, and that's definitely contributed to the performances we've seen.
Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's race. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position, and starting alongside him P2 is Sebastian Vettel. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Leclerc, George Russell and Perez, Weber, Sainz, Ricciardo and Pierre Gasly, Norris, Red, Kimi Raikkonen and Kubica, Albon, Kvyat, Devon Butler and Lance Stroll, Magnussen and Valtteri Bottas begins the race from the back of the grid. Now it's almost time to lights out, so let's go down to the track.
The safety car has been deployed. Watch your delta. Make sure you keep it positive as we catch the... Complete, go now. That was our last stop. Virtual safety car deployed. Slow down and maintain a positive delta. Virtual safety car is deployed. Expecting rain in around 10 to 15 minutes. On old mediums, their tyres are 11 laps old. We think they've got one more stop. The time last lap was a 1 minute 15.3. You're gaining by expect to see some rain about 10 to 15 minutes from now. Suggests some weather is going to hit in around 5 minutes time, so stay on your toes. Dries seem like the fastest tyre at the moment. There's one. Let's turn the engine down, please. Heavy rain in around 15 minutes time. 15 minutes. Dries seem like the fastest tyre at the moment. Okay, clear. Exit now. You'll be racing as you leave the pits. Alright, race over, take care of the car on the way in.
So, another fantastic victory for the Silver Arrows. Anthony Davidson, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
Well, keeping their tyre temperatures up in the tricky wet conditions was really important. There's not much grip out there at the best of times, and it's 10 times worse if you're out there on cold tyres. So the way they kept the rubber in its proper operating window was a huge advantage today.
And I can see the drivers starting to approach the podium for the victory celebrations. A real team victory today. Everybody played their part. Congratulations then to Mercedes, your race winners today. And after this round of the World Championship, here's how things look in the drivers' table. It's a great result for Lewis Hamilton, who moves further ahead at the top of the table. Now, let's discuss, Ant. Who would you say is a contender for driver of the day?
It's got to be Valtteri Bottas, a commanding performance that I think had the audience's eyes glued to him for the majority of the race.
It's time to see how things are shaping up in the Constructors' Championship. Mercedes continue to extend their lead. There was also a strong showing from the McLaren team today as they make their way up the standings. After an event like that, who knows what the sport has in store for us next time? Be sure to join us again as we continue to bring you the latest excitement in Formula One. Anthony Davidson, a very warm welcome to you as you join me in the commentary box for today's event. Why don't we discuss McLaren? They've had just one retirement in the last 5 races. What do you think that says about the reliability of their car?
I think they can be fairly pleased with that record so far. The first thing any good car needs is a solid, reliable base with which to build on, and they seem to have that this season.
Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position with Charles Leclerc alongside. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Bottas, Vettel, Carlos Sainz and Butler, Weber, Perez, Norris and Daniel Kvyat, Verstappen, Raikkonen, Red and Albon, Gasly, Magnussen, George Russell and Robert Kubica, Ricciardo and Lance Stroll brings the grid to a close. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
We can.
It was a magnificent race and a drive right out of the top draw to take the win for Red Bull today. Anthony Davidson, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
Well, keeping their tyre temperatures up in the tricky wet conditions was really important. There's not much grip out there at the best of times, and it's 10 times worse if you're out there on cold tyres. So the way they kept the rubber in its proper operating window was a huge advantage today.
Here come today's winners. The team at Red Bull have done a phenomenal job recently. It's clear to see that they've put in the work, and they should be proud of the victory they secured here. And after this round of the World Championship, here's how things look in the drivers' table. Not the result our points leader wanted, but it certainly makes things interesting going forward. Now, let's discuss, Ant. Who would you say is a contender for driver of the day?
Well, there's no question in my mind it has to go to George Russell. What a performance. He's got every right to be proud of what he accomplished out there today.
Let's move on to the constructors. Mercedes continue to extend their lead. Meanwhile, a strong weekend from Red Bull this time out, and they improve their position in the championship. I'm equal parts exhausted and elated with this weekend of Formula One. Be sure to join us for the next one.
They aren't coming round to that proposal. Let's try something else. All right, the terms have been agreed. All that's left is to sign the paperwork. You'll be on this new deal from the next race weekend.